whole food versus ultra-processed foods. In choosing what we eat to support health, we are often guided by what to exclude or restrict. The problem is there are so many dietary ideas, recommendations, and advice out there collectively. All counting and restricting it can feel very overwhelming. So I'm suggesting a simpler approach to healthy eating. Focus instead on what the foods include. These are the whole and minimally processed foods that we know are beneficial to our health. By focusing on the whole and minimally processed foods you can include at each meal, there is less need to put much brain power into avoiding less healthy and heavily processed products. You inadvertently crowd these out, and as a bonus, you're less likely to consume too much added sugar and other unhealthy ingredients. To do this, it is important to understand the difference between whole foods and those that are heavily or ultra processed. So I'm going to break it down for you. Most foods we eat have undergone some kind of processing. We often peel, cut, and cook whole foods for a tastier dinner. Some foods require it to be safer to consume. In fact, we have been processing and prepping grains, meats, vegetables, and fruits for thousands of years. It's important to understand there are stages of food processing. The types or amounts of processing a food undergoes can determine the taste, texture, and nutritional quality of the food. Processing methods used either at home or by food manufacturers include grinding, steaming, chopping, excessive heating, canning, preserving in fat, sugar, or salt, high generation, extraction, and more. To help you work towards including more whole or minimally processed foods in your daily diet, here are some stages of processing to get familiar with. Unprocessed, whole, and minimally processed. Whole or unprocessed foods are fresh foods or a single ingredient that resembles its origin, natural state. They are generally higher in quality, and the closer to its natural state, the more likely the food will nourish you and satisfy your hunger. Minimally processed foods can be undertaken by a manufacturer or in the home. These processes can extend the life of the food, sometimes enhancing nutritional quality or make the food edible by removing shells, skins, or toxic parts of the plant, and make certain foods safe and enjoyable to consume. So, methods. None or some processing such as non-alcoholic fermentation, pasteurization, refrigeration, freezing, roasting, pressing, drying, milling, grinding, or removal of inedible parts, just to name a few. So, for example, think of whole vegetables, fruit, legumes, mushrooms, eggs, seafood, and certain cuts of meat, as well as herbs and spices, fresh or dried, vegetables, snap frozen, pasteurized yogurt, whole oats, and whole grain, flours, nuts, and seed. Processed culinary ingredients. These are substances obtained directly from nature or whole foods that undergo some industrial processing to obtain, make useful to the home cook, or prolong shelf life. Their use is in their preparation, seasoning, and cooking of whole foods or minimally processed foods. So they use such methods as pressing, refining, extracting, or mining. So for example, could be extra virgin olive oil, butter, or salt. Okay, processed. According to the Nova classification system, processed foods are whole foods that have added sugar, oil, or salt and have undergone certain processes to extend their durability and enhance taste or smell. Often packaged processed foods comprise 2 or 3 ingredients. So they do this by preservation and various cooking methods, canning and bottling, and non-alcoholic fermentation. So think of canned foods that could be including fruits, vegetables, and fish, as well as other salted and cured meats, cheeses, and freshly made bread. Okay, ultra-processed. Ultra-processed food products do not serve your health and well-being, being nutritionally unbalanced, poor quality, and very easy to overconsume. They are designed to be convenient, ready to consume or ready to heat up, attractive, profitable, and charged at a low price or a long shelf life, and competitive to freshly prepared meals. So they are also cleverly and aggressively marketed and often contain certain food additives that combine misleading to the public into believing they are consuming something super healthy. So consider the ultra-processed foods a formulation rather than a whole food. They include at least one substance never or rarely used in kitchens or classes of additives designed to make a final product palatable or more appealing. Worryingly, such foods are harmful when eaten in excess and when they displace consumption of the whole or minimally processed food. So a recent study was able to demonstrate that ultra-processed food diet drives individuals to eat more and therefore gain excess weight. The excess weight can lead to poor health outcomes, especially when consuming nutritionally devoid foods. So there can be industrial processing techniques. It can be molding, pre-frying, deep frying. They include the added sugars, oils and fats and salts, additives and ingredients that are artificial or far removed from their original state. As they're adding such things as flavor enhancers, colors, foaming, anti-caking agents, emulsifiers, thickeners, and more, and they often used to make the product palatable. Also, they use modified sugars, fats, and proteins made by industrially processed whole foods into substances such as sweeteners like fruit juice concentrate and high fructose corn syrup. So some examples could be margarine, instant soups and sauces, soft drinks, reconstituted meat products such as nuggets, fish fingers, sausages, shakes and powders, mass-produced bread, pastries, biscuits, breakfast cereals, confectionery, pre-made sugar and salty snacks, many types of added sugars, and more. So it is important to understand that a little processing is okay. So generally, the more processed a food is, the less nutritious it is, and the more likely it will contain added sugars and other ingredients that are not beneficial to your health. Healthy diet patterns from around the world have a foundation of a whole or minimally processed foods, with the addition of a processed culinary ingredient such as extra virgin oil, butter, or salt. A good and straightforward example could be to complement or complete meals. Most of us will use food products that fall under the processed category, such as cheese or tinned tomatoes. This is fine, provided you choose products where you understand all the ingredients on the label and they don't contain artificial flavorings, colors, preservatives, or other unhealthy ingredients, including too much added sugars or sweeteners. So do remember, occasionally having stuff that is more processed isn't the end of the world, but by choosing to include whole and minimally processed foods most of the time, you are naturally sidestepping the ultra-processed products and those sneakily added in sugars, which means you are winning.